Hello students, welcome to Notebook. Have you ever appreciated the gift of sight? Something most of us are endowed with. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be a cripple or physically disabled in some way? Well, our lesson today is about a very special kind of school. A school that allows its students to appreciate the blessings of a life free of physical disabilities. This story is an adapted and abridged version of E.V. Lucas's story. Let us now begin the lesson. The narrator of the story is a man who had heard of Miss Beam's school, but never had the opportunity to visit it. One day, he finally had the chance to visit it. When he reached the school, he first saw a girl of 12. Her eyes were bandaged. She was being guided by a boy a few years younger than him. When she was near the narrator, she asked the boy who it was. The boy described the narrator to the girl, and they moved on. Then the author went on to meet Miss Beam. Miss Beam was a middle-aged woman. Though authoritative, she was also kind and understanding. She was plump and her hair had begun to grey. The narrator asked Miss Beam about her teaching methods, which were quite simple. Miss Beam told the narrator that the children were taught simple spelling and arithmetic. She added that they were also read to, during which they are expected to be calm and restful. The objective of the school was not just to teach them thought, but thoughtfulness as well. These children were not just given the practical tools of education. In addition, they were taught kindness and responsibility. This allowed them to be kind to strangers and be dutiful citizens. Miss Beam then asked the narrator to look out the window and asked him what he could see. The narrator replied that he could see beautiful grounds. He could also see a few children. However, they were not completely healthy and active. The narrator said that, like the girl he had met earlier, he could see two more children with problems of sight. He could also see a girl with a crutch watching the others play. She appeared to be a cripple. Miss Beam laughed and explained to the author that the children were not actually physically challenged. The girl with the crutch was not lame. It was her lame day. Similarly, the others were not blind. It was their blind day. To make the children appreciate their fortune and understand misfortune, Miss Beam had devised this exercise. During every term, every child had one blind day, one deaf day, and one dumb day. They also had one injured day and one lame day. During the blind day, the children's eyes are bandaged and they are not allowed to peep. The bandage is applied the night before, so children woke up blind. Other children were given the responsibility of helping and guiding them around. This allowed both the blind person as well as their helpers to learn a lot. Miss Beam also told the author that there was no misery in this practice. It is more like a game through which the students realize the importance of kindness. Before the day is over, the children learn about real misfortune. Miss Beam also added that the blind day is the worst. However, some children said that the dumb day was the worst. Miss Beam asked the author to go out into the garden and interact with the children. This would help him to understand how the children felt. Miss Beam led the narrator to the garden. She introduced one of the girls whose eyes were bandaged to the narrator. Then she left them. The narrator asked the girl if she ever peeped. The girl said that she didn't, as it would be cheating. She also added that she had no idea that it would be so difficult to be blind. Every moment she felt like she was going to be hit by something. She added that it was a relief to sit down. The narrator asked her if her helpers were kind to her. She said that they were fairly helpful. However, she would be more careful when she'd be a helper. She also added that those who have had a blind day were better helpers. She even asked the narrator to try. The narrator asked her if he could take her anywhere. She suggested a walk. During their walk, the narrator had to describe things to her. She said it was awful to be blind. She said she wouldn't mind being deaf half as much. When she asked the narrator where she was, he replied that they were in the playground, walking towards the house. The narrator also added that Miss Beam was walking with a tall girl. The narrator told her that the girl was wearing a blue cotton skirt and a pink blouse. The girl thought it might be Millie and asked the narrator what color her hair was. When the narrator replied that it was very light, she confirmed that it was Millie, the head girl. The narrator described an old man tying roses. The blind girl identified him as Peter the gardener. She added that he was hundreds of years old. When the narrator mentioned a curly, red-haired girl on crutches, she identified her as Anita. Eventually, as they walked on, the narrator found himself being more thoughtful and considerate than ever. The narrator found having to describe someone else to her made the other person more interesting. When the author finally took Miss Beam's leave, he mentioned how sorry he was to go. Miss Beam was happy to know that her system was effective. Which day do you think would be the most difficult for you? Why not try Miss Beam's system and see if that makes you kinder and more considerate? You can ask your friend to be a helper. With that, students, we come to the end of this lesson. See you soon in other videos of Notebook. Till then, keep learning.